Hi everyone, this is Jaye Wells. I am coming to you with a new episode of Jay's Office Hours. This is actually like a sequel to my first video about bullet journaling. If you saw my other video, I introduced you to my main bullet journal, which is where I keep all of my monthly events, my daily events, my weekly stuff that's going on, my to-do lists. I also have, I don't know if I can get to it quickly. I also have a tally of words that I write every month, and things like that. This is basically the hub of, my day-to-day schedule. And in my last video, I made a very ridiculous claim that I didn't think I could ever have more than one bullet journal. But recently I had to admit that I was wrong. I realized that the bullet journaling that I do for my schedule and my business is really different from the sorts of things that I keep up with for my books. One is a very linear scheduled sort of thing, and the other is a very creative process. It's very organic. There's not a lot of rhyme or reason to it. And I needed a place to put it all. Because what I had been doing was, you can't see my desk. I have 5 different spirals scattered across my desk, including this huge sketchbook that's full of all sorts of mind maps and notes and just all sorts of crazy ideas, notes about books. But I have probably 24 of these notebooks all over my house. And what I was realizing as I was getting back into writing my Prosperous War series again, I'd already written 3 books, and now I'm going back and writing 4 more. But it's been probably about 3 years since the first book came out. I realized I needed to get organized. I already have this Prosperous War World Building Bible, which is, I think I've done a video on this. This is where I keep all of, my lists of characters and my overviews of plots and my calendars and my notes on magic rules and locations in the first 3 books. Notes and all sorts of stuff. This is sort of my dump file of all of my research. Not all of it. I mean, let's be honest. I have a million bookmarks on my computer. I've got Pinterest boards. I just have stuff everywhere. And what I realized was that I needed to get organized because I have 4 more books to write in the series. It's a lot of work. It's a lot to keep up with. So I treated myself to a new bullet journal. Oh, look at that. It's black. It's beautiful. It's got these beautiful cream pages. It's got these little, it's the same brand that my other one was, which is, I cannot pronounce it, Leuchtturm, I think. Leuchtturm. I took German in high school, but I don't know how to say that word. Anyway, it's got these 2 little cool ribbons. It's the exact same kind of book, just a different color. And this is my sort of book idea bullet journal. Now, somebody out there is going to be watching this who is a bullet journal maven or master, and they're going to be like, that isn't a real bullet journal, and you'll see why in a minute. Because a real bullet journal is based on a system where you keep a running to-do list, and as you finish things, you mark it off with different, you have a code for things that are complete, things that you need to move to the next month. I mean, it all started as this system. And it's grown into a lot more than that. And really, it's this idea of having a one-stop shop and a blank journal that you use to keep your life organized. And that is certainly what this other one is, although I have massively customized it for my needs, which is the beauty of the system. It's really just an idea notebook that I'm calling a bullet journal because I'm using a typical bullet journal style notebook. It is not a schedule by any means. It is it's it's a one-stop resource for me to keep track of my ideas and my themes for this series and whatever other ideas come to me. So let's get into what I'm doing with it. You can see what I mean. So I've posted a picture of this on Instagram. Each book in my Prosperous War series is based on a different stage of alchemy. The magic system in the series is based on alchemy, so I basically took that a step further and said, well, each of the stories is going to be based on an alchemical stage, as is the character growth. And so this is the mind map for book 4, Volatile Bonds, which is coming out in September. It's based on conjunction, and these are all the associated symbols, myths, and archetypes that psychologists and, magic people associate with this stage of alchemy. And I use that as my sort of inspiration board for what kind of crime is committed, names of settings in the books, and things like that. So I have one for book 4, and then I just made one for book 5, which I'm just getting started on. Book 5, which will be out probably in the early next year, is the fermentation book. I don't have a title for it yet. I literally just started writing on it today. So it's pretty, it's pretty new. But it's a fermentation book. That's the 5th stage of alchemy. And these are all the associated symbols, signs, and archetypes. And so what I do is I kind of just stare at this and I'm like, all right, what is this telling me? What kind of ideas are coming up? I keep it really loosey-goosey in the beginning. But the other things that I'm using this for is for volatile bonds. I want to be careful what I show because I don't want to give away too much. So I'm saying, volatile bonds is the name of the book, the alchemical stage. What's the main case of the book? In this case, the book starts with the explosion of a potion lab, and they're trying to figure out who set it off. There's also a running list of all the new characters that I've introduced. I'm pretty known for writing pretty crazy characters, which is really easy to do in a series where alchemical magic is used like drugs. So I keep I'm keeping a list for myself. Who did I introduce in this book? What's their function? How are they related to other people? And I've made a few notes for myself on when my editor sends back notes on the story, things that I came up with that I'm like, oh, I need to look at that and work on that when I get it back. And then I left space because there probably will be more notes in that regard soon. So then you move to book 5. So I have all sorts of ideas for titles. I have, this is where, I don't want to show everything, but this is where I'm putting, where is everybody at the end of book 4? When they start this book, where are they? What stories do I need to be talking about in this book? Because there are so many characters. I'm like, there's Kate Prospero, who's the main character. Like, where is she? Where did we leave her at the end of the last book? But where's her brother? And where's her roommate Baba, who's kind of like a surrogate grandmother for them? Where is her partner Morales? What's John Volos up to? So that as I'm brainstorming, I'm just, putting it here. Like, this is where they were. This is kind of where we're going. And then I have a bunch of notes on fermentation here, since that's the stage that I'm working on. This is all having to do with, what's the literal stage in alchemy, what is the chemical processes, what chemical processes are happening, what's the psychological associations going on. Again, more and more ideas. It's just fodder for ideas. And then I had this really brilliant idea today on something big that's going to happen in this book. I'm not going to show it to you because it's really big. If you are a fan of the series, you are going to want to read this book. So I just was writing down notes. What if this happened? What if that happened? And that's how I'm using it so far. I am not sure. I probably will not use this to keep track of my writing. Because I see that as a function of work instead of creativity. This book is about giving myself a space to put all of my ideas, because usually as I'm working on the book, it's just all over. I'm just writing Post-its all over the place, and this is, I'm hoping, where I will keep all of that. Now, the problem with this is I now carry both of these everywhere, but they're pretty slim. I mean, these are not huge, and they're not that heavy, and I always carry a huge bag, so they will just go in there. I also am looking forward to using this. Sorry, my dog just was shaking. I also plan on using this like down the road. Once I'm done with this series, this gives me sort of a track record of how I developed all of these ideas over the long haul. It's interesting to go back and look at the notebooks, the many notebooks of my earlier books in this series, and seeing where I started with the idea originally and how it developed, which is interesting for me as a writer to kind of understand more about how my brain processes ideas, and just to kind of remind myself that, you know, the stuff that goes in the first draft isn't always what ends up working, and that's a good thing to remember. So I think that it is worthwhile to start a separate notebook for yourself that is dedicated just to your ideas. We tend to want to see writing as a to-do, and brainstorming and all of that. And I think, you know, keeping track of how much you're writing and stuff like that is important. But I think that what I love about this notebook is that it allows me to separate it from my to-do lists. This is a space where I play with my ideas, and I think it is so important. I tweeted today something like, I was thinking about how much as writers we shame ourselves into writing. Oh, I have to write today. Oh, I have to get 5,000 words. I suck. If you're around writers at all, this is exactly the kind of thing that we say. But I'm really coming around to the idea that that is no way to live. Writing is something that people do because they love it. You did not start writing because you hated writing. You started writing because you love stories. And I think that it is worthwhile to do whatever you need to do to keep writing a place that is sacred and a place where you feel like you can play. Because play turns writing from something that feels like a chore into something that feels like a meditation, or something that feels like you're connecting to something beyond yourself. And I know that that sounds really woo-woo, but yeah, you guys, I've been doing this for a really long time. It will eat you alive if you let your ego completely drive your writing. So set yourself up to have the experience of writing being something that you feel is a fun thing to do. Don't say, I have to write today. Say, I get to write today. It is a privilege to have the skills and the interest and the passion to be a writer. And I think that you should honor that. I'm starting to honor it a little bit more by things like this. If you have ways that you do it in your life, please share it in comments. Maybe in the future I'll talk about some more ways that I'm trying to bring more play into my work. I'll see if I can think of some other ways that I do that. But give me your ideas. Also, if you have questions about the craft of writing, I definitely would love to hear them in comments. Also, a couple of housekeeping things. If you are interested, if you have not read my Prospero's Wars series, but you know this book's coming out in September, the 4th book in the series, I am hosting a big summer read-along of the first 3 books and 1 novella that have already come out. With a bunch of readers at Goodreads. If you go to, I'll put the link in comments so you can click on it. And it's basically, we are zooming through those stories between now and September when the 4th book comes out to refresh the memory of people who've already read the books and to bring everybody else up to speed. It's going to be really fun. We're going to have lots of guided discussions. Of course, there will be sort of forums where you can go and talk about the books that I won't go into, because I know people, might have things to say that they don't necessarily want me watching. I get it. And we're also going to have giveaways and contests and all sorts of stuff. So definitely check it out. I'm also giving away 5 signed copies of Cursed Moon, which is the second book in the series at Goodreads. So I will also put that link in comments. And I hope that you are having a great week. It's the first day of summer. It has felt like summer here for a long time already, but it always does because I'm in Texas. Happy writing. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.